Ever feel like someone's holding you back from success?
Hmm.
Like it's not even you, it's the people around you.
Oh, yeah.
That's Law 10 in Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
That's the one. We're going deep on that today. You know how negativity spreads.
It's wild, isn't it? We think we're in control, but Greene's saying watch who you're with. It impacts everything.
It really does. And we're not just talking about like the super obvious toxic people, you know? This is about those sneaky ways negativity gets to you and how to protect yourself.
Exactly. Building up your defenses.
Exactly. And we've got some awesome historical examples to unpack, like Louis XIV.
Ah, yes. He was so careful about his court. Only wanted successful, powerful vibes around him.
Like a human shield against bad vibes.
Yeah.
But we can't all be royalty, right? So how do we actually use this law in our own lives?
Well, think about it like this. Ever notice how you feel after talking to someone who's always complaining?
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's emotional contagion. Emotions and attitudes, they spread. Like a virus, impacting how we think and act.
So if you're around someone negative, it rubs off on you.
Exactly. Greene says those constant complaints that focus on problems could be signs of bad judgment or character flaws even. And if you're around that, you risk getting infected by it.
Okay, I see that. But isn't that a little harsh? What if someone's going through a really hard time?
That's a really good point. It's not about being heartless, you know? This law is about seeing the difference between a temporary rough patch and someone who's always negative. You can support someone going through a tough time, but boundaries, you gotta have those with the chronically negative folks. It's like you wouldn't intentionally expose yourself to the flu, right?
True. So how do I know the difference? When to support and when to back off?
Look for patterns. Are they always complaining, stirring up drama? Or are they actively trying to solve a specific problem? Take Lola Montez, for example. Greene uses her as a case study.
Oh, yeah. Lola Montez. Wasn't she that courtesan who caused a ton of trouble?
Exactly. She was captivating and manipulative, but she brought chaos wherever she went.
And King Ludwig I of Bavaria fell for her hard, right?
Oh, yeah. Head over heels. He showered her with gifts and power, but she caused a huge scandal. Political unrest, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. Led to his downfall.
Led to his abdication, yeah.
So how does that tie into infection?
Well, think about it. Her manipulative behavior, her disregard for consequences, it infected his entire reign. She attracted drama, negativity. Ludwig got too close, and it all seeped into his life, destroyed his power.
That's a pretty stark example of how the wrong person can mess things up. How do we avoid becoming a Ludwig? How do we protect ourselves?
There are some sneaky good strategies. First, tact is key. You don't have to be super obvious about it. Just subtly shift your associations.
So like slowly spend less time with them, turn down invites more often.
Exactly. And while you're doing that, focus on the positive people in your life. Build those relationships up.
So less negative, more positive.
Exactly. You're curating your social circle, creating a space that supports you and helps you grow.
Curating your social circle. Like you're the art director of your own life, huh?
That's a great way to put it. You get to choose who influences your journey, who you allow into your life's masterpiece.
Love that. But what if I'm the negative one? We all have bad days.
Oh, for sure. And that's where self-infection comes in. Just as important as avoiding other people's negativity is watching out for our own.
So like, if I'm complaining a lot, focusing on problems, I'm infecting myself.
Exactly. You let those emotions run wild, and you become the infectious one, pushing people away.
Yikes. So how do I stop that? Life's tough.
Self-awareness is key. Catch yourself when you're slipping into those negative patterns. Make a conscious effort to shift your focus. Problems. Look for solutions instead. Blaming others. Take responsibility for your situation.
It's like that saying, what you focus on expands. Focus on the bad, get more bad. But focus on the good, even when it's hard.
You start to create a better reality. And you attract people who are on the same wavelength, those who support you. Positive feedback loop, you know?
Like you're building a negativity shield.
Yeah.
From the outside and the inside.
Exactly. And speaking of that, look at Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. Elon Musk. What about him?
He surrounded himself with ambitious people, people who share his vision. They're all about innovation, pushing boundaries. It's a big part of why Tesla and SpaceX are so successful.
So he's using Law 10 in his businesses.
Yeah.
Got all the radiators, no drains.
Exactly. He knows who he surrounds himself with directly affects his success.
Inspiring, right. But how do you tell who's a radiator and who's a drain in your life? It's not always obvious.
It comes down to observation, trusting your gut. Pay attention to how you feel around different people. Do you feel energized, inspired, or just drained and exhausted?
It's not just what they say, it's how they make you feel.
Exactly. Your emotions are a guide. If a relationship feels good, nurture it. If it feels bad, take a step back. And, speaking of feeling drained, we can't ignore social media these days.
Oh man, right. It's like a whole extra level of relationships to deal with. Constant information, opinions.
It really is, positive and negative. And let's be honest, it can be a breeding ground for negativity sometimes.
It's true.
Hmm.
Social media, it's a double-edged sword, huh? On one hand, you connect with people, find communities you relate to, but
And then you're bombarded with negativity, drama, comparisons that just make you feel bad.
and it's so easy to focus on the bad stuff, that negativity bias, you know? You see 100 good comments and one bad one just sticks with you.
Oh, it's totally human nature. But if we're not careful, it can really impact us.
So how do we even handle social media without getting totally infected? It feels impossible sometimes.
It's not impossible, but you got to be mindful, intentional about what you're consuming. Just like we were talking about, choosing your friends wisely.
You got to choose what you follow online wisely, too.
Exactly. Unfollow those accounts that drag you down. Seek out the ones that inspire you, teach you something new, make you feel good.
Like a social media cleanse. Out with the junk, in with the good stuff. But what about when you can't avoid it? Like you're scrolling and boom, there's something negative. What then?
You don't have to engage with everything you see. Something triggers you. Keep scrolling. You don't owe anyone your time or energy, especially if it's going to ruin your mood.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
It's easy to get sucked into those online arguments, you know?
It is. And that's why setting boundaries online is just as important as in person. Protect yourself. Mentally, emotionally, it all matters.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked about online, but what about in person? We talked about spotting those radiators in drains, you know, and
Yeah.
shifting away from the drains tactfully. But how do you actually do that? What are some real strategies?
Well, a lot of it is just paying attention. Be present in your interactions. Who are you with? How do you feel around them?
Tune into your emotions.
Yeah, they're your guide. Does the relationship feel good, energizing? Lean into it. If it feels bad, well, time to reassess.
And it's okay to make changes based on how you feel.
Absolutely. You get to choose who you spend your time with. Surround yourself with the people who make you feel good, who help you grow, and don't just wait for those relationships to find you.
You mean go out and find them.
Exactly. Join groups, go to events, do things you love. You'll find your people.
Put yourself out there. Okay, I love that. So we've covered finding the good ones, but what about when you need to, step away from someone negative? How do you do that without making it a big, dramatic thing?
You don't need a big announcement. Just subtly reduce the time you spend with them.
So like less hanging out, fewer calls.
Yeah, and if they ask, just say you're busy. You don't owe anyone an explanation, really. You choose how you spend your time.
Right, right. It's not being mean, it's setting
Right.
healthy boundaries, right? But what about when it's someone really manipulative, really draining? Those are tough.
Those are tough, yeah. The most important thing is you're not responsible for fixing their problems. You can be supportive, but you don't have to get caught in their drama.
It's knowing when to say no, setting those boundaries.
Yes, if someone's constantly demanding your time, your energy, say no. You can be polite but firm.
And if they try to guilt you, you don't give in.
Exactly. Stand your ground. You don't have to be pulled into their negativity.
So sometimes stepping away is the kindest thing, even if it's hard.
Sometimes, yeah. It lets them face their own challenges and you stay healthy.
That's tough love. Okay, we've talked a lot about other people's negativity. What about our own? That self-infection you mentioned. How do we fight that?
Self-infection. Oh, that's a big one. Start by paying attention to what you're telling yourself, those thoughts running through your head.
So like, am I focusing on what's wrong or how to fix it? Am I stuck in the past or looking ahead?
Yeah, the more you feed those negative thoughts, the more negativity you'll have in your life.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Okay.
You think bad things will happen, and they do.
Exactly. So you have to train your brain to be more positive. Challenge those negative thoughts. See things in a better light. Focus on what you can control.
So even when things are hard, look for the good.
Yes. And don't be afraid to get help. There are books, podcasts, therapists, lots of resources to build a more positive mindset. It's an investment, really.
Awesome. Besides mindset, what else can we do to fight that self-infection?
Take responsibility. It's easy to blame others for your problems, play the victim, but ultimately, You choose how you react.
Taking responsibility gives you back your power.
Exactly. It's not about blaming yourself for everything. It's about recognizing your role and taking control.
So instead of asking, why me, you ask, what can I learn from this?
Yes. Focus on the solution, not the problem.
Okay, this all makes sense, but I gotta say, this law, it doesn't mean you become a hermit, right? Like, never interact with anyone.
Oh, absolutely not. Life's about balance. Protect your energy, but still engage with the world.
Life has ups and downs. You can't avoid all the bad feelings.
You can't. And you shouldn't try to. Learn to process those emotions in a healthy way. Don't let them control you. And even when things are hard, find something to be thankful for.
Gratitude. I love that. Focusing on the good stuff you have, it's powerful.
It really is. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Talk to people you trust, build those positive connections, and if you need to, get professional help.
Totally. Together, we can create a better world, one good relationship at a time. But before we move on, I'm curious about something you mentioned. You said emotions are like a virus, right? Is there any science behind that?
There totally is. It's called emotional contagion. Psychologists and neuroscientists have studied it a lot.
How does it even work? Like, why are we so affected by other people's feelings?
It's all about mirror neurons. There's special cells in your brain. They fire when you do something and also when you see someone else doing the same thing.
Wait, so if I see you smile, my brain acts like I'm smiling too.
Exactly. And it's not just actions, it's emotions too. You see someone really happy or sad, your brain reacts like you're feeling it too.
Wow. So we're wired for empathy.
We are, and that's a good thing mostly. It helps us connect, build relationships, work together, but it also makes us vulnerable to that emotional contagion, the good and the bad.
So to avoid catching the bad vibes, choose who you're around carefully.
Exactly. Both online and offline. Surround yourself with the people who lift you up. It's not about being selfish, it's about taking care of yourself, creating a space where you can thrive.
Makes sense. You got to build a positive environment to grow and be happy.
Exactly.
Great stuff. So any final words of wisdom before we wrap up?
Remember Law 10. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. It's all about knowing the power of your connections. Choose them carefully, online, offline, everywhere. Build a positive mindset that's your shield against negativity from inside and out.
Love it. Choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
We'll be back after a quick break to wrap things up. All right, we're back. Ready to wrap up? Law 10. You know, one thing that's really stuck with me is this isn't about, like, becoming a hermit, cutting everyone off.
Right, right. It's not about isolation. It's being choosy.
Yeah, yeah. We can't control every single person we meet, but we can be smarter about who we let into our lives, you know?
Absolutely.
And recognizing sometimes we don't even realize how much those connections, the people we're around, affect us. Our thoughts, how we feel, even how well we do in life.
They really do. It's about building that support system that helps you grow, be your best self. It's like, imagine you're tending a garden.
Ooh, I like that.
You wouldn't put weeds in with your flowers.
That way, you want those flowers to bloom.
Exactly. Those flowers are your goals, your dreams. And the people around you, they can either help them grow or choke them out.
So true. So we got to be careful who we let in our garden.
And just like a garden, you got to tend to those relationships, see what's working, what's not.
It's a constant process, huh? All right, so we've covered a lot with Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. What are the big takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first, remember, emotions are contagious. They spread like wildfire. So pay attention to the energy you're around. Online, offline, it all matters.
Makes sense. So be picky about what you see on social media. Ditch the accounts that bring you down, find the ones that lift you up.
Spring cleaning for your social media, right?
Exactly. And when it comes to people, it's okay to distance yourself from those energy vampires. You don't have to be mean about it, but you also don't have to explain yourself.
You get to choose who you spend your time with. That's important.
Totally. But on the flip side, you got to go out and find those positive people too.
Surround yourself with the folks who inspire you, those who challenge you to be better.
Build that dream team.
Yeah.
And it's not just about other people, right? We got to watch our own energy too.
Oh, that's huge. Self-awareness. Listen to what you're telling yourself. Those thoughts, they matter.
So get yourself when you're being negative.
Yes. And flip the script. Find something good to focus on. Take responsibility.
Don't be a victim. Be the hero of your own story.
Exactly. You have the power to choose how you react to things.
Love it. And even when things are tough, don't forget to be thankful for the good things.
Gratitude is powerful. Changes your whole perspective.
Okay, I think we've got it covered. But before we go, one last thought for our listeners.
Okay, so think about this. Who are the radiators in your life? The ones who bring the warmth, the light.
And who are the drains? The ones who suck the energy right out of you.
It's worth thinking about.
It is. Who are you letting into your garden? Because you have the power to choose. Choose wisely, folks.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And that's a wrap on Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky from the 48 Laws of Power. Hopefully you've got some good ideas for navigating those tricky relationships and taking care of yourself.
Yeah, take care of that energy, choose wisely, and we'll see you next time.